Hi everyone, and welcome to a Redefinition Games Q&A,
Yay!
courtesy of the survey.
Yeah, the Redefinition Game survey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to be answering some questions today that people have been asking us through our survey. Some of them are kind of interesting. Some of them we've already answered. You can go to some of these answers for the TVO Thief Q&A. But we'll just go over them briefly in this one. But if you want more details, go to that one.
Yeah, we'll put a link
Yep.
to the other Q&A for TVO Thief. But yes.
So first up are some TVO Thief ones. First one is, why you cancelled TVOT?
And sad face.
And sad face.
First up.
Who said we cancelled it?
Yeah, exactly.
We cancelled the pre-orders.
But not the game.
We haven't cancelled the game. And, well, there's a follow-up question to that. You will delete TVO Thief or no? I really love it. It's like, no. Why? No, we're not deleting TVO Thief. It is staying where it is because we like the fact that people can keep playing it.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't been updating it, which we'll talk about a little to why again later, but we're not going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's definitely staying where it is. The next question to that.
Hold on to your seats.
The Redefinition Thief has been accepted on Steam Greenlight. When is about the release date? Not in a very long time, which
Don't expect
yeah.
any kind of Steam release.
Yeah, just because we got it through Greenlight doesn't mean that it has a release date. Like we said on the last questions, there are things happening that we'll be making announcements about, and we'll clear that up.
Yeah.
But until then, there's a few things that we still have to do. We have priorities. We've got priorities in place that we're trying to do, and TVO Thief is currently at the end of those priorities. Not to say that we're not making it, not to say that we're ignoring it. In fact, a lot of what we're doing is just to make sure that we can actually make it.
Yeah, it's on the path towards... Very organized.
You could say it's on a road towards TVO Thief.
No one will understand that.
Well, when I bring that thing out, they will, and they will laugh. Trust me.
We have a roadmap. Well, actually, we do.
Wait, you just gave it away. Well, there's a roadmap coming out.
I'm an idiot. You'll find out.
You'll find
more
out.
later.
I'm working on showing off a roadmap that will show what we're doing. Thank you, Elise.
Yeah. Next question.
Will there be a bigger version? Yes, there will be a bigger version. It's the same deal as all the other same problem. That roadmap that Elise gave away is all part of explaining that whole thing. It's a roadmap to TVO Thief. God damn it!
In general, just
And that's the TVO Thief related questions.
yes.
Some early news there. I could cut it out, but then there would be nothing in there.
You've talked about it too much now. You could have just cut it out, but it's too late. We've talked about it for a very long time.
Just rub it in some more.
Oh, well, anyone listening to this, you got a sneak peek of early news. You're special and fancy.
Yeah. Especially since a lot of people seem to ask the same questions and don't watch these things. And if you're watching this, you should feel special.
You're very informed.
Yeah.
You are the best. Congrats to you.
Okay.
All right. So now we're just on to development-related questions.
Yeah, these are questions
more in general
from people that would like to make games or have questions about the development process that we use. This is going to be quite a mouthful, actually. But
just do one at a time.
Yeah, we'll do one at a time. Yeah. The first few are pretty straightforward. How difficult is it to create a game?
It depends on a lot of factors, but if you want to make a good game...
If you want to make a good game, you want to make a game that lots of people want to play, you want to make a game that is essentially... you're essentially proud of and a lot of people really enjoy, that is not easy.
Yes.
It is actually extremely difficult. TVO Thief is actually the sum of 4 years, almost. That's how difficult it has been. Like, we have like we haven't been able to work as hard as we have been lately during that 4 years. But try and imagine trying to come up with something that is enjoyable and not being sure, never having any interaction with like an audience, and then coming up with a game that you thought was meh, and then you release it and it turns out to be gold, and not knowing what to do with it. It's not easy. Like, it's very, very challenging. You have to think about a lot of things, especially if you want to take it seriously. This is the other thing. Like, if you really want to get into game development, you really want to be taken serious as a developer. You know, you want to go solo, you want to run a business, or you want to work with a team. There are so many things that you have to really take into account. It's like, it's really annoying. Like, the game development itself, I find really annoying. But I enjoy it because it's very challenging. There's lots of challenges in it. Challenges that really test your capabilities. Like, they touch on so many different types of skills, like audio, art, visuals, and all kinds of stuff.
There's a lot involved. Yeah.
Typography and graphic design.
Yeah.
And it's
all of the things wrapped into one experience.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. If you just want to make games for fun, and you don't have to care about any of that, and you're just making a game just for you because you enjoy doing it, it's probably a lot easier.
Yeah, like if you...
It doesn't matter if it's a bit, wonky or whatever. You can just have fun.
Yeah, that is to say that even though it's really hard for, like, if you want to take it seriously, if you just want to do it as a hobby, if you take it too seriously, you're going to ruin your enjoyment of it. Just have fun with it. Like, if you're just doing it for fun, then do it just for that. Don't go, like, if you don't want to do a business...
You don't want to make it all-consuming in your life.
Yeah. Like, I think that is the difference. Like, if you really want to just do it because you enjoy creating stuff, or you enjoy the slight challenge in your life, then definitely, like, just have fun with it. But if you're doing it as a thing that you want your life to be,
it is very hard. It's a lot of work.
And it is very challenging, and it is,
it's in our day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Talking about it and working on things.
For me, I wake up, turn on the computer, and it's work. It's all related to making games, and it touches on a lot of stuff. And I like it. Not many people do. It's just,
after all this struggle.
Yeah. If you paid attention to the games industry at the moment and paid attention to some small indies that have been struggling and have gone through the motions of development, you could see that they're worn out, they're tired, and they're very delicate, especially when they get negative responses. You're putting your heart and soul into creating something, and even then, you have to find the energy to make sure that the game is still better, and that can be even harder to find. Finding energy is difficult some days, and that really affects the production quality of your game. Yeah. And if you're doing it solo, it's all on you too. Like, goddamn.
Yeah, stress all on one person. It's pretty hard.
Yeah. So, how difficult is it to create games? Depends on why you're doing it. It's challenging. Like,
either way, it's
always going to be challenging. Yeah.
But how much of a challenge depends on what you're doing it for.
Yeah, depends on what you want it for. Next question. That was a long one.
Yeah. So the next question is,
how did you get your game noticed?
Yeah.
P.S. Best game ever. Thank you.
Yeah, that was written there. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. How did we get our game noticed? So I when we released The Very Organized Thief, I had a plan. I was going to wait a week, and I was going to email some of the YouTubers.
Yeah, we had a whole schedule.
I was like, I'll give it a week, and then I'll email people to try and spread the news. Before that week ended,
well, it wasn't even before the week ended.
It was like a couple of days. After a couple of days, someone had emailed Markiplier. I think was the first one, wasn't it? Markiplier.
Yeah, we put it up on
and
IndieDB.
He made a video on it. So I was going to try and do that, but I never got around to it because someone else did it for us, and then it spread from there like wildfire.
And they did it in like he mentions in the video that it was done in a very particular way. All he got was the name of the title of the game, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like.
And he played it.
And he played it.
So that was cool. So basically, we did nothing.
Yeah, and then from there, it had a life
And
of
we
its
had
own. We had no
no idea.
control over it. It was like, oh god, we have to move really fast now, just trying to keep up. And I think for 3 months I was working on small updates for the game and just fixing and polishing things, which was really fun. Can't wait till we release that new game and we have to do. Then I get to do that all again. It'll be awesome.
That's the best phase.
Yeah, that is the best phase. Once it's out, you're just like you're getting shitloads of feedback, and you're just like, yes, more add this.
Feedback's so good.
But yeah, like we didn't really push it. It just sort of happened, which is kind of something that we liked. It sort of removed a lot of pressure from us.
And in another way, added a lot of
It added
pressure
lots
though.
more because to have a game get picked up and then have that many plays and have that kind of effect, it's just like, Jesus, our next game better do the same sort of thing. Yeah. Or the thing that we do with the game, like there's a high expectation attached to what the game has become, and that's really hard to deliver on, especially when you have to do a whole bunch of other stuff and there's still a lot of things that you need to learn in order to make it happen, which is kind of some of the reasons why we're doing things the way that we are to get to TVO Thief. Like there will be more details about it, but the roadmap should essentially show you what we're talking about in terms of what we need to do to get to there. The next question is, how do you create such a cool game? I want to code games, so I'd like to know. That goes back to the same sort of thing that we're talking about in how difficult is it to create a game. Cool games or really well thought out games takes a lot of time. Your first few games are never going to be the greatest, and if you're trying to do a fan game, it's never going to be better than the original game as well. Well, sometimes. Actually, sometimes it can be.
In general.
In general, yeah.
Yeah,
If you don't have
general.
much experience with game development, your first game is going to be absolute garbage.
And
Like,
that's
I know my
okay.
first game was absolute garbage.
Yeah. Like, that's okay. That's normal. But, learn from what you've done.
Yeah.
And keep going.
Don't be afraid to put it up online, especially now. Like, back when I was learning development, I had no source of feedback, and now there's all kinds of places online that you can get all kinds of feedback, and you shouldn't be afraid to do it. I mean, you might get really rough feedback, but don't take that negatively. Don't go, oh, you can't say that, I'm a developer, it took me this many years, because at the end of the day, no one cares, and you're really making yourself look bad.
Yeah, but usually people are pretty nice.
Yeah.
If you go ahead...
All feedback is good feedback.
It is, yeah.
Even if it's vague.
Interpreting vague
You at least
feedback.
know there's a problem there. You need to think about it, kind of thing.
That is a skill to develop, interpreting vague feedback, yeah.
That is how you make a cool game. Like, you go through just making games, and then you get feedback for it, and then you learn how to interpret the information you get back from people, and then you even improve it yourself as you play the game. You're just like, I could refine this bit a little bit more. I could make this feel a little bit nicer. This UI doesn't feel quite right, or the characters' controls feel really sort of not intuitive, or stuff like you build this sort of information in your head at how you interpret what you've created, and then you sort of refine it. It is a skill that you develop over time. It is not something you can just do. And if you are lucky enough to just suddenly do something that ends up being good, you're in big trouble, because then you have to learn more. You have to learn quicker. You're in an audience now that wants your stuff, and if you don't deliver, it's even more challenging.
Yeah.
Like, it is a balancing act to create something that is good.
Do you make music? If yes, with what software? Was another
I
question.
dabble a little. I'm not a musician or anything like that, but I play around with it. I used to use Audition to sort of make really stupid stuff and then drop it into, what was it? It's something on Steam. Music Creator 6. I think there's a new one that's out. But yeah, I just use that. I used to also use GarageBand just for funsies. If you've got a Mac, pretty much just need GarageBand.
Yeah, that's a good thing about a Mac.
Yeah, or even a tablet. Like,
Like an iPad or something. They have GarageBand on there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, are we done with that question?
Yeah.
The next one?
Next one. Okay, this one's a big one.
Yes.
briefly or roughly, what would be the different steps of games development?
Of a game's development
of
process.
a game development process, and what happens in each. I wish you the best of luck with all your projects. And thank you. Well, how we do it, it's a little different because we're a small team.
Yeah.
But, like, we have a methodology that we use to make sure that, you know, we don't go too far too fast. We sort of make sure that we know what we're getting ourselves into, and then, you know, we take steps at a time. Whereas if you're doing like a jam or something, it's just like, everybody, hands on deck, just go. 3 days, new game comes out, done. Which is good and bad. But for us, we sort of go through this sort of steps of starting with an idea. You know, it's just stuff that we kind of think would be cool.
Like, we have a funny conversation one day and we're like, oh my god,
yeah,
that would make
be
a
cool
great
to make
game.
a game like this? Oh, that would be hilarious. Yeah, we should write some stuff down about that. And then it's like,
and then we have
it
like
sounds
a
cool at
massive
first.
folder of like random ideas.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll go through them and be like, oh,
Yeah.
we could probably still do something with this one. But yeah, most
Yeah.
of them, you know, are just silly ideas that probably wouldn't actually work in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you do come up with an idea, write it down, you know, put it somewhere where you can get access to it. Then you go into the next phase of refining that idea, and that's when you start seeing if there's any issues. You start finding out that the game might not be possible, or it's missing something kind of critical to make it more interesting to play, which is the design brief. This isn't exactly creating the design. This is like a brief overview of how this game could be fun. And if you kind of get hung up in this phase, it's not going to work out as a game.
Yeah, at least it would be very hard for you to do it. So
yeah, it would be very challenging. This is before you've actually created the game as a prototype.
This is just sitting down and writing stuff.
Yeah, this is writing. This is thinking about it, sort of looking at all the bits and pieces that you might like it to have. And then after that, you go into, I guess, pre-production, which sort of like you start looking at it in more detail. You start breaking down the ideas that you've written down into very specific explanations. So it's just like, in the brief, you might say, the player needs to be able to jump onto a wall. That's in the brief. And when you're breaking that apart, how is the player going to jump on the wall? What button are they going to press?
And what will that look like?
What will it look like? What sort of effects? How is it, you know, in terms of the character, what sort of character is it? What is the character going to be doing? Does it need to have like its feet planted in a particular way as it's running? Is it going to need specific animations? You start looking at it in a very technical fashion.
Yeah.
And that is to say, as well, from all that information, if you're a programmer or an engineer or whatever, you break that down into what is known as a technical design document, which looks at all these ideas that are all these concepts. And how can you build that technology to make that happen? You look at it in terms of that. And that's all just writing, by the way. That's not... you're not actually making the game at this point. This is all sort of understanding what you're trying to do before you actually do it. And you may end up doing a prototype during this phase. You'll do a little bit of concept art as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you even break it down to your most important pieces.
Mm-hmm.
You won't do the character's foot planting IK or something, but you will do the wall running in your prototype just to see if it works as a concept, like as an idea. Is this actually fun? Does this actually play? That's what prototyping does for you. You actually determine if the game is actually going to be good. And more often than not, the game turns out to be not good.
Saving.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
yeah, I mean...
how many prototypes did we do last year that were basically, hey, these are cool ideas, and then it end up being
You can get
rubbish.
to the stage and then realize that there's something missing, and you don't know what that is. You sit and you think about it.
Or there's a critical flaw in the
There's a
whole
critical flaw.
design.
And sometimes we've come to this stage and we're like, we have to put this game down for now.
Yeah, it's just like there's this problem that we have that I don't know how to solve, or there's no way to solve it. Sometimes a solution comes after, like
that's happened before. Like
we've written a bunch of games, and a solution has popped up years later. That's sort of like, you know what, that would make sense, and that was because we've spent a lot of time developing other games and coming up with different ideas. It's just like, it's until you have that creative spark that sort of like goes, you know what, this would actually work with that other thing that we were trying to do. And then it's like, oh, that solves that problem. Oh, then we can add it to that. And, we add it to the thing, and then we end up getting another roadblock because there's another problem.
So we have like this massive archive of games that are in like the pre-production stage that are like almost there as an idea. Like we went through this cycle before we even released our first game. Like we went through this massive cycle of
5 years
working on a game and then working on a game and then going, oh, we have to stop, working on another game, oh, we have to stop, oh, we've solved this problem, work on that a bit.
And a lot of that was because we were inexperienced and we're still learning stuff.
And that's how we did it. And now we're at the stage where actually we've got things out in the world now, and we're better at what we're doing, so problems are being solved faster than they used to be.
Exactly. Like the whole process, this goes back to how do you create a cool game as well. It's like you develop a critical eye, you develop an understanding of how things work. It's just like all this information goes in, and sometimes you don't remember it off the bat, but the moment that something that comes along that says, you need to do this for this, if it's any way related to a previous idea, it's just like, I could do this and come up with all kinds of things that will help make this thing that I'm creating even better, and then we can reapply it, we can reuse it, and it's like it kind of works like that, which is kind of different from the methodology that I see commonly with indies, which is just one game, work on it until it's done, and even then just shit it out into the world and not have much of a care, or at least, I hate saying not having much of a care, because they probably do care about it, but it's just, it's not released in a state that is, you could consider it's at its full potential.
I guess our process is we love these ideas and we want them to be the best that they can be.
The best that they
can be.
So
we don't want to release a game out that...
Essentially don't want to shit a game out.
We don't want to back to my shit baby. Did we release that when I said like... You have a baby or like a shit.
Oh wait,
did we release that?
I don't know,
because I don't know if I'm referencing something that didn't come out. Anyway,
that's another thing as well. We work on a lot of things that don't come out because there's just information that sort of, or something happens in our life that makes the information go, damn, it's invalid now.
In some video that may or may not have ever come out, I made
she said something about a shit baby.
A shit baby. Your game, you can take a shit and release it, or you can make a baby. I can't remember. It sounds really weird now. You have to find that actual audio and see if you released it.
Just cut it in.
And cut it in because it was funny. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't even remember what I was saying now.
Like... Every game is like a developer's baby or something like that. Yeah.
But,
if you take a shit...
if you accidentally, shit and you don't realize, and you're running around with shit in your hands, and you're like, look at my baby.
Yeah, people are just going to be like, God damn, get away from me, you weirdo.
I don't think that was the same point.
It was along the lines of that, but yeah, I think people will get the idea.
Oh, God. Anyway.
Okay. So back to the development process.
Yeah, back to the
that's
process.
Pre-production.
Yeah.
Like that's figuring out what your game is going to be before you release it to public. And then once you know a lot more about it, once you feel like there's actually a viable product there, you go into production, which is basically more of the same. It's just you're doing less writing. You're not looking at writing more technical stuff or writing more design stuff because hopefully by this point you've worked it out. There is a little bit of it. That's just to sort of resolve any unforeseen design issues in terms of like the game's design or the technical side of it, which will happen. It's unavoidable. Yes. And then you sort of refine it from that point, and you're essentially making the game now. This is the game that is going to come out to the world.
Yeah.
And that involves lots of code, lots of art, lots of everybody doing everything.
Yeah.
And then once the game is getting to a point where it's mostly completed, it goes into what is known as alpha, which has unfortunately been ruined by lots of people releasing alphas when they're actually not even.
They're just in production.
The alpha to us is a game that's got lots of bugs. It has most of the features in there, and you're basically finalizing those features during this phase. And any features that haven't been added or require too much work or have like a significant impact on the development at this point will be like you cut them out, you leave them out. You get to this point where you have to be very critical and to ensure that the game does come out. Otherwise, it ends up just staying there and never moves. And then after that, you go into what is called beta, which has also been ruined by a whole bunch of people. Not to say that they intended it, it's just that some people misinterpreted the meaning of it. And
I think the meaning's evolved.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean
the
same
meaning
thing.
hasn't evolved. The meaning was designed for a specific purpose.
People
I think
are using
people's
it differently.
understanding of it is what's wrong. And that's a common thing with the games industry. Words have multiple interpretations, and more often than not they get sort of mixed up in this world of it doesn't make sense anymore, and when you try and make sense of it, it's just like it's still wrong. But to us beta is you don't add any new features and you basically focus on polishing it. You make sure that all the things that the game has is working, and you make sure that the art is all polished. You tweak values and numbers to sort of get the nice, you tweak shaders, you tweak the materials, you adjust textures, you clean up some models, you maybe even optimize some models if you don't break things. And that's beta, and then after that you release it, and that's our sort of process towards things. It's not exactly that, but it sort of falls onto that.
Yeah.
With smaller games, if we want to add more features, it becomes more complicated, because after a process like that, it becomes very difficult to add features. Unless during development we take that into account, we're going to add more features later. Yeah,
that'd need to be. You'd need to know that you were going to add more features in the pre-production phase.
Yeah,
you need to know that we're gonna make it this big, and then we'll need to know while we're making it that there'll be some extra things added afterwards.
Like TVO Thief, for example, the one that's on web and that you can play right now. We can't add any more to that. It is already.
It would probably break.
It would probably break,
Yeah.
and
because we didn't intend to add anything onto it when we made it.
We intended it to be that small, and adding stuff to it now would basically break the whole thing. Like I used that project when we started working on the new one, and the amount of changes that I made to it basically broke everything because the new version that we want to work on is completely different from the old one, because
it's like a separate thing.
On the technical side of things, it's like it's completely different.
Yeah.
The way it works is completely different. Yeah, and that's pretty much our production process. There is other things that we kind of do. We sort of like, if we want to add a very specific feature after the fact to games, we kind of go through a small version of that. It goes through like we figure out what it's going to be. Like, we get ideas, and then we figure out what it's going to do in terms of like a brief, and we come up with a design, and then we do a basic test and implementation to see if it actually works in the game and how it affects its actual game. And if it doesn't quite work, we just leave it out. But if it does work, we sort of polish it up, and then it goes through the whole process of getting refined, and you add art, you add more code, blah blah blah, and then you have a new feature.
Yay!
Which is tricky, to say the least. Yeah. Is there any other questions?
Oh, that was actually the last one. 'Cause it was
That was
really
the last
long.
one.
Yeah. So this has been a very long.
This is a long one. Yeah.
A long one. We had a lot to talk about. There might be another one.
There might be another one, depending on people asking more questions in the survey after we release this.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how many more questions there are, and we might do another one. If you
ask the same questions that we've already answered,
we won't answer them.
That's
again.
your fault. We're not answering them. Ha 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 ha. Well,
but if you want
go at our
if you're
website
watching,
and find out. Watch some of our old videos, because we do answer a bunch of things in there as well to keep you up to date.
And if you want to ask us some more questions, just in the
wait.
comments or
Wait,
something.
wait. I got one on Twitter.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I completely forgot about that one. Hi, is the horror game you're making going to be on Game Jolt like the Very Organized Thief? Yes, it's going to be on Game Jolt. We actually did a video that said we're making it for Game Jolt.
So here's your another official statement. Yeah.
Yeah. It's in 2 videos now.
Well, I mean, I guess not everyone realizes we do these. We're trying to make it more obvious.
We're trying to make it more obvious.
That we do them. We should put like a summary of each one. Have we?
If I sound pessimistic, I'm just doing it because I'm just being silly. Don't take that as I don't like you.
It's not that.
It's not that.
It's just funny to complain.
It's funny to complain in a funny way.
Yeah.
It's not funny to just complain.
Don't complain.
Don't just complain. Devs, I'm talking to you out there.
Yep, alright. Well, is that all the questions then? There wasn't another weird question tucked away somewhere?
Unless someone asks one right now while we're doing this,
Oh,
which we're probably not going to answer.
Question? No,
Anyway.
no, we'll wait for the next one.
Yeah.
If you want to ask us any additional questions after like listening to this, just like send us one, however you like.
Yeah, like send it through Twitter, ask us on AskFM. I think
email us a question.
Contact us. The contact information is on our website. Just go to the About section.
Comment on the video.
Yeah, comment on the video.
However you want to send us a question.
Yep. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Wait for our horror game.
Yeah.
Then you can be afraid.
It's not a horror game.
Oh, well, you said horror game.
Well, I didn't say it was horror. It's a test of courage.
Very specifically, test of courage. You will hear more about that when we talk more about that game.
Yeah. There's announcements coming very soon. A lot of it is... Currently, it's just me working on things. I'm trying to balance a whole bunch of things at the moment, which is to do with updating the website and releasing updates and then actually working on the game and doing everything that game needs.
There's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do. And I guess that's that.
That's that.
Thank you for watching and asking us the questions.
Ask us more.
Ask us more. And I hope you have a pleasant day. Yeah. See you next time.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.